trim sucks. Because you go through and straighten all your panels and get them all nice and flat, and then you got to drill a bunch of holes on them. So, but I've done this a few times in the past, you know, with cars that have new quarter panels or something like that. There is a few write-ups online of like the exact spacing of the holes and, you know, how many millimeters or centimeters up, the exact spacing of the holes. But really on SS moldings, it's kind of hard to go wrong because it's just one strip that goes down the side of the car, and you always have references. So you put your gas lid door on, you'll have a reference because this one sits at the very bottom of the gas lid door, and then everything needs to flow with this one. And then another reference you have is your door lock hole, so it needs to sit around there correctly. So basically everything just needs to flow. Don't get too carried away with the exact specifics of how the factory, I guarantee you the factory was not thinking this hard. They were just putting on trim that had a flow with the car and everything looked good. So one thing that will kind of throw you off is the front spears. They pitch up a little bit and this body line stays straight. So when you are laying it on there, it almost looks like it kind of pitches up at the end, but that's just because of the shape of the molding actually goes up and that body line is staying straight. So it looks a little funky back there. But yeah, just go through and make sure it's all lined up. And then what I like to do is take a pencil and draw a line. Now, if you have a painted car and they didn't put the holes in there, first off, shame on them. But just do the same thing with tape. Just run tape lines across the top and the bottom of the trim, and then pull the trim back off, and then that way you'll have a reference. And then go through and mark your holes. There's a few different kits for the clips that you can use to hold these on. The quarter panels from the factory had an oval shaped hole, and they used a plastic push-in clip. It looks like that. So a lot of the kits that they sell online don't have those. They're just kind of a metal spider looking clip that still has almost an oval shaped hole that they'll clip into the oval hole if you have a factory stamped quarter with the oval holes. But they'll also work with just a circle regular hole, so you don't have to worry about making them oval. They are easier to drill and install. The oval ones, they're a little more tricky. I do like the way the oval clips fit better, so that's the route I'm gonna go on this. I'm gonna go the hard way, which I don't know why I'd like to do stuff the hard way, and make some oval holes. So I'll get everything drawn up and then start marking out where the holes go, and then bring you guys back when I start actually making the holes. The holes are drilled. It's pretty painless, to be honest. It wasn't bad. Hardest part was finding an oval shaped drill bit to drill those. But they do sell them on Temu or Wish. Stop. No, they don't. Just use a Dremel. I got a regular Dremel that is attached onto an extension wand, so you don't have to hold the big bulky machine up there, but you could just put the bit straight onto that. Just get a little carbide burr bit. Amazon sells them pretty cheap. Harbor Freight has them. and drill a hole in the center, and then work them out to the outside. I used an original cut-off piece of an SS quarter panel to mark out those ovals. But if you don't have that, like I said, those are the clips. Just use those clips to make a template. You want it to obviously be a pretty snug fit. So they have little gaskets on them you can pull off, and you could use that to outline it. But it's basically about 3/8 of an inch tall, and then I would say it's about a 1/2 inch wide as those holes. So don't overthink it. It's just drilling holes. I will insert a picture of all the measurements. What I'll give you, since I don't want to go through and just have you stop on the video of each mark here. I'll measure from the edge of the quarter panel, and I'll start there, and I'll tell you the center of each one of those holes all the way back. And then I will start from the front edge of the door and tell you what the measurement is for each one of those holes all the way back. And then I'll start from the edge of the fender back. And each hole is 5/16 inch. That's what it is. I verified it. I do have a factory SS fender over there. I verified the hole size with that fender. As you can see from my marking, a little high. That's because that fender piece that I was using to mock it up with was pretty tweaked. I knew it was tweaked. Look at this thing. It's pretty bent and twisted up. So I wanted to verify with the factory SS fender. And when I did that, I noticed that that piece was not sitting right. I do have a pair of NOS ones that I ordered. They should be here soon. So the measurement on this, it is just a hair under 2 inches from this body line up here. And by the time you get back here, it ends up being right at 2 inches. So you want to be like 1 7/8 inches up here, and then all the rest of them are basically 2 inches up from that body line all the way back. Same with the door holes. I verified with a factory pair of SS doors that I have that have the factory holes. So these are the locations of those holes. So get a drill, just go to town. Literally just start ripping into your brand new panels. No regrets. It's not as intimidating as it seems, really, once you start mapping it out. So yeah, don't be too worried. You don't have to do those holes in the quarter panel like that if you're just using the push-in clips. Like I said, you can just drill a circle hole if you wanted to use the metal clips. I wanted it to look factory, so I'm going to use the factory style oval clips. Simple stuff. On to the next thing now. I'll start working on the door jambs. That's my next thing I'm going to tackle. Since I'm going to be doing candy paint on this thing, these doors are going to have to come off and on a lot. So there's not a great way to pin these doors just to make sure that you can bolt them back in and they line up. So I'm going to try a trick of tack welding inside the door where those the bolts are sticking through. That plate is movable, so that's what gives you the adjustment. So I'm going to try to tack weld that plate onto the door shell and see if that'll allow me to keep the door adjusted while I unbolt it. I've never tried that before, and see if that helps. So I can pull this door off and prime the jambs, and I'll probably go ahead and paint them silver, because everything needs to be silver to do the candy paint. So that's what I'm going to try to work on tonight. And I might even try to film a little bit of it. We'll see. So there's a shot of all the measurements you need in order to drill these holes. And all these measurements are about 2 inches up from that body line that's right below the SS molding. So it's not a guarantee it's going to be 2 inches, but they are pretty much all 2 inches. And this is done on the driver's side, but honestly the passenger side would work just the same. The only difference with the passenger versus driver is the driver's side has the gas door, but the holes could be in the same position basically. And nothing's really that critical except for the ends where the screws go in, like at the edge of the door, and where you have to put the nuts on inside the fender, because there is spots cut out on the reinforcement of the fender where the nut will go. So those are about the only super crucial spots. The rest really isn't terribly important. Just make sure there's enough to hold your clips and keep your molding up against your panels. But other than that, there's really nothing too specific about these.